Price trends are changing rapidly in the 911 GT3 market, and if you are a buyer, owner or seller who cares about values, this is something that you should be aware of. In the last market update we saw that prices for the older generations were trending up, while they were trending down for the latest generations. But all of this changed. 996 prices flatlined after a run-up of 2 years. 997 price trends diverged. .2s are increasing while .1s continue to decrease. 991 price trends could have bottomed, and also 992 prices are finally decreasing at a slower pace. In this video we'll check out all of these price trends and speculate about future prices. But as always, we'll first have a look at the current market and the different price levels. In this graph you can see the US prices at the end of April 23. There were 196 GT3s listed for sale, and this is 35% lower than in January. This drop is roughly in line with what we can see in other markets. Now looking at the prices, we can already see quite a few interesting price dynamics. Starting at the bottom, we can see that 997.1s and 991.1s are the cheapest. Is this a curse of the .1 generation? Especially when we look at the price trends later in the video, you can see that the ones for the 997.1 are relatively weak. On the positive side though, it does mean that you can get them from $125,000 to $130,000 onwards. Taking it up a notch, we have the 996 and 997.2 prices. For these two generations, prices tend to sit between $160,000 and $200,000, but you can see that there are also a few cheaper 996s available. This is mainly the result of the car's general condition and the mileage. The depreciation per year effect is basically non-existing. Looking at the most recent generations, we can see that 991.2s tend to go for $195,000. The Tourings are more expensive. For those you need to bring more than $230,000. And at that level, you could also opt for a basic 992. Prices start just under $250,000, but as you can see, go up to $350,000. So this means that the market bottom decreased by approximately $10,000 to $15,000 compared to 3 months ago. What also decreased, albeit marginally, are 996 prices. You would not say it given the high prices that we just saw, but the upward price trend finally came to an end. Have a look at the following graph. Over here we can see that prices decreased by approximately 4% since January. Is this irrelevant price development? Yes and no. Let's start with the yes. As you can see, the 996 price trend has been exceptionally strong. Prices increased consistently during the last 2 years, and I'm quite certain that this is the largest price increase that I covered on the channel. So from that perspective, this price decrease is a significant development. It is the first sign of price weakness. But at the same time, there are many reasons to not put too much weight on this drop. To begin with, supply levels are low, and this means that the trend has a relatively high volatility. Moreover, during the last 2 years, prices increased by $102,000 or 131%. So a price decrease of 4% or $7,500 since the market top is only small by comparison. Finally then, this price decrease fits with the general market trend. It applies to many other cars, but most noticeably to the 996 turbo market. And you can click over here to get an update on that turbo market. So all in all, I wouldn't be surprised to see a stabilization in these prices, but we will talk more about this after we covered all the price trends. Now it would be reasonable to expect that price trends in the 997 market look similar, but they don't. The price divergence in that market even increased. Have a look at this plot. Over here we have the price trends for the 997.2 in orange and for the 997.1 in blue. We can see that prices for both generations increased considerably up until April 2022. But then something interesting happened. 997.1 prices topped and started to decrease. They're down by 16.7% or $27,000. And this drop is statistically confirmed, which means that it's unlikely to be the result of chance. 997.2 prices on the other hand stabilized. They have been hovering between $170,000 and $180,000. Now what's so interesting about this price divergence is that it has been going on now for about a year. So even though the supply levels are low, it's not the result of some outlier in the data. It's a real development. But what could explain this? It could be so that 997.1 prices are correcting due to their large increase during 2021. You can see that they increased much more than the 997.2 generation. They might have overshot the mark. Additionally, if you read the various 911 forums, there seems to be a consensus that the 997.2 is the better car out of the two. I'm not saying that the .1 is bad or that nobody would pick the .1 over a .2, just that most people would prefer a .2 if they had the choice. Now what's remarkable is that this price divergence isn't present in the 991 market. Price trends over there moved in parallel and have been increasing. Over here we have in orange the 991.2s and in blue the 991.1s, and this excludes the Tourings. Also for this generation, things are changing. Prices of course increased during the pandemic and topped during the summer of 2022. In line with the rest of the market, they started to decrease. Prices for both generations dropped by approximately 8%. But look at the development during the most recent 3 months. .2s increased only marginally, while .1s are up by 2%. Both of these changes are not statistically confirmed, so it's fair to say that prices stabilized. And this is a deviation from the short-term trend. This trend was down. And this is interesting for 2 reasons. We've been seeing bottoming patterns in other car markets, but not in all. I devoted a full video to these bottoming prices, and you can click over here if you want to check them out. It is always difficult to pinpoint a reason for the developments in the prices. We could be looking at a typical spring effect, meaning that this would only be a seasonal increase. Given the tightening credit conditions, this could make sense. Moreover, supply is down by 38% compared to 3 months ago. And this could of course be the catalyst for the development that we're seeing here. Yet, it could also be a reflection of increasing prices for new GT3s. Porsche announced price hikes which are higher than usual, and this will for sure have an effect on 992 prices, but will it also affect 991 prices? Please let me know your thoughts on this down below in the comment section. Second, this development is interesting because there doesn't seem to be an effect from the expiring warranty on the 991.1 engines. We discussed this many times before on the channel, but as of now, there doesn't appear to be such a direct effect. The price trends for the Tourings is unfortunately very volatile due to the small market size, so we'll skip that one for now. And that of course means that it's time to have a look at the 992 market. But because the market is so new, we will look at the price development per model year. Over here we have the price development for the Touring and the non-Touring models, split by model year. We can see that prices decreased immediately after their introduction. They're down by roughly 16% or approximately $54,000. Now the fact that prices are decreasing of course doesn't mean that these cars are cheap. With an MSRP of $182,000, prices are still extremely high. Even if you account for an option premium of let's say 40%, this would bring the MSRP to $254,000, which is still lower than today's prices for used cars. Now looking at the most recent development, we can see very small changes in the depreciation rates. They are slightly lower than before. But this makes sense, right? These cars are now 1 year old and gathered some miles, and this means that the natural depreciation curve typically flattens. Now just as in the 991 market, this might be supported by a drop in supply. 3 months ago there were 112 non-Touring models listed for sale, and at the end of April there are only 64 cars listed for sale. That's a drop of 42%. But again, the data doesn't tell us the reason for the drop. It could be a seasonal effect, or it could be the effect of the price hikes. But in any case, with that it's time to wrap up and conclude, and to provide a little bit more context to these price developments. Price dynamics are changing rapidly in the GT3 market. All generations show noteworthy changes. 996 prices could have topped, 997 prices are diverging, 991 prices bottomed for now, and even 992 prices decreased at a slightly lower pace. And much of this fits with the general trends in the Porsche market, but also the general car market trend. In short, the trends are no longer lining up. We saw for example that Carrera prices mostly continue to decrease. that turbo prices mostly flatlined and that 987 and 981 Cayman prices showed bottoming signs. Expanding this to other cars, we saw that prices for McLarens, AMG GTs and relatively modern mid-engine Ferraris continue to fall, while older, mid-engine models are holding up extremely well. You can of course find all of these price trends on my channel. Now all of this means that the correlation between the price trends is much lower than what we've seen during the last few years. Everything basically increased and topped, and most also decreased. Now price trends are moving in different directions. Whether this is something that will hold in the long term or is the result of idiosyncratic market factors is difficult to say at this point. What we can say though is that it's even more important than before for buyers, sellers and owners who care about values to be aware of the individual price trends. Depending on the trend's direction and the side of the deal you're on, you can use this to your advantage. General terms such as the market is up or down no longer cover the load. And with that we arrived at the end of this video. Now if you enjoy this data-driven way of analyzing car markets but would like to see a video for a different car, head over to my channel. Over there you will find market analysis for a large variety of cars. Can't find the car you're looking for? Let me know the name of the car for which you would like to see an analysis by commenting it down below in the comment section. Once there are enough requests for a certain car, I'll make a video about it. As always, thank you for watching and I hope to see you next week for a new video.